We didn't even have audio on, did you? It was just,
I had it on very
Oh, did you?
tiny level, yeah.
They wouldn't know that anyway, would they? They wouldn't know if you've got your bloody volume up this end.
Right, we're streaming. I think, yeah, we're live. Okay. Bloody Nintendo.
It's ridiculous. How can you run a news show and show clips and
Yeah.
bits and pieces? I mean, who would genuinely be making any kind of commercial profit from showing that poxy video?
Yeah. Right, ladies and gentlemen.
Are we back, Clive?
We are. We are. I'm getting rid of that. Nintendo, ladies and gentlemen. It wasn't Nicki Minaj.
Yeah, it's so funny. Are you sure we're live?
Yeah. We've got 3 viewers.
Oh, I was watching you play Halo.
That's an old... We're live, ladies and gentlemen. We apologise.
Here we are.
Yes, thank you, Dasadini. It was Nintendo, ladies and gentlemen.
I know we've been bad-mouthing Minaj for 2 weeks now. It turns out it wasn't Nicki after all.
We hereby apologise to Nicki Minaj.
That is so funny.
Damn Nintendo.
So I hereby declare Clive the winner by default, because there's no way I'm carrying on to promote.
No, carry on.
Pokemon Flipping Go, when all they want to do is pull us. We're not even. How can you do a current affairs stroke news show and show clips and stuff where you're clearly not making any money? And no, we've got copyright. You're out, mate. You're dead. We're not having any of that. So there you go. Where did I get to? 2016. So anyway, they brought this app out. We'll fix it in post. Don't worry. And it was very successful. So successful, in fact, because of course it was a freemium. It was one of the first big freemium apps.
Yeah.
So you basically didn't pay for it. But if you wanted to buy, you had to throw your balls at a creature, and it would capture the creature. It was quite clever, and that part was interesting because it was.
You just said throw your balls at the creature.
Well, that's what you did.
I know. I just heard it.
He said balls.
Yeah, throw your balls at the creature. Throw your ball.
Well, I had multiple ones because I never got it first shot. And then he wrote up. The thing is, when you'd used all your balls, you see, you could buy some more. And that was the point. You purchased more of these spherical devices, which are the Pokemon Go balls, and captured your critter. And that was the interesting bit, because at that point, you had the option, you didn't have to, but it would flick you into AR mode. So the creature and you flicking your balls was AR. It was augmented reality. And so it was double fun. Not only could you see yourself in your map world, and you could say, oh yeah, look, there's the church over there, and there's the school and stuff. But when you found a creature and you lined him up, ready to throw your device at him, it was AR. It was.
But then you could train them up, couldn't you?
You could do all sorts.
And then you find where they're nearby gyms.
Yeah, you had the old dojos,
Pokemon gyms, dojos,
yeah, all that going down, and you could have big old kind of battles.
Yeah, that was the
all
proper,
sorts. Very cleverly done. Very cleverly done. But here's the interesting bit. I can't remember over what time period. Let me just refer to my notes. So, although the app was free, freemium, and you had to buy stuff, as of last year, right, there had been over 1 billion global downloads of this app, grossing 1 billion downloads.
Crazy money. crazy.
grossing
download.
$3 billion in revenue. So for every app downloaded, they made $3. So much for and if you think about how much they would have made if they'd sold it for 99p, they actually made 3 times what they would have made if they'd sold it and managed to sell them all. So it just goes to show you, ladies and gentlemen, why the freemium model works. Yeah,
Get the numbers right. Works.
significant. 3 billion. Still going to this day. They're still adding stuff to it. They have just recently increased the amount of critters you can throw your balls at. I think you now get more balls than you had before. There's now 600, I think. And little conventions held in places, and all
It
sorts
hit
of
real
stuff.
zeitgeist where, like,
Yeah.
you know, mums, every adults were like into it, and just for briefly, everybody's walking around holding their phone, going, "Look, there's like a Pidgeymon, whatever."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And it is actually still quite good fun. And the thing I loved is a couple of things. One was that it turned out that it was a great way to get your kids out of the bedroom and out into the real world and exercise, because you have to
Yeah.
walk around to find
Yeah.
creatures.
yeah.
And some of my, I had lovely memories of me and my daughters going for a walk along the coast, looking for those creatures, and people just coming up and saying, "Oh yeah, just over there, I found a whatever it was
Yeah,
called." And,
yeah.
you know, everybody was into it. It was
Yeah.
a lovely
It
moment.
was pretty big when it came out because
Oh,
it was
huge.
it was novel,
Yeah.
but it worked
Yeah.
seamlessly.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was road accident. Yeah, I'm sure there was some sort of tabloid, you know,
Oh, there was all that.
sort of story. It's
Yeah.
killing people, not watching where they're going, chasing after a Pidgeymon or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, my friends, would have been for 2 weeks running my Generation X game. Pokemon
Right.
Go, sans the video.
Pokemon Go, ladies and gentlemen.
There we are.
My game, well, I played it last week.
You did?
So this is my bloody copyright. I literally was playing the game last week. Oh, you don't want to hear me chatter on it. But there we are. Yeah. So it's Halo Combat Evolved, or as was just then, Halo. First-person shooter video game, of course, developed by Bungie, published by Microsoft. It was released as a launch title for Microsoft's Xbox video game console on November the 15th, 2001. Arguably, this is what sold the Xbox. This game was the sort of, you get it now and then with certain games and a few on PlayStation, but people buy the console to play the game. And this was one of those games. It was such a massive game, and it sold in the millions. They eventually released it for Windows and the Mac OS in 2003. And obviously now it's a downloadable Xbox original it was an Xbox original for 360. And now you can get it as part of the Master Chief Collection, which is what I was playing here. Slightly enhanced version. Still the original game, but they've just enhanced it. And it stands the test of time, albeit slightly remastered. But you can't, you know, because of the way the game design, it doesn't matter how much you polish the graphics, you never quite, the way the characters move are restricted. And, you know, unless you rebuild the game from scratch, it's always going to feel a bit dated. But they polished it enough in the Master Chief Collection. So when you go back to it, you don't get that disappointment you do of like, oh my God, these graphics are terrible. Which is like, when I went back and look at Freedom Fighters, I seem to remember, and Medal of Honor last week, I think it was, I seem to remember the graphics being much better than they are now. But at the time, they seemed amazing. And you're always a bit disappointed when you go back with nostalgia and look at a game. But the remaster of this, I was playing it this afternoon. It stands the test of time. My streaming hasn't, because I had a dodgy stream capture card. But the game itself. Anyway, set in the 26th century, of players assuming the role of Master Chief, of course, cybernetically enhanced super soldier. The combat on it is great. It's easy. We talked about how the Xbox traditional, the first person shooter sort of platform. You've mentioned it before and stuff, and comes from this.
Mm.
You know, that first-person shooter, but with a controller. This is where it really all sort of started, or sort of got captured. Bungie began development of this game of Halo in 1997. Initially, it was going to be a real-time strategy game. They did do a real-time strategy version of it, which I hate those.
Well, they did Marathon prior to this, which was this kind
Right.
of precursor for
Yeah.
Halo.
And it morphed into this third-person shooter.
Yeah.
And then it became a first-person shooter. And then during that time, Microsoft acquired Bungie. So this is Microsoft's sort of first big acquisition.
Yeah.
You know, talking of acquisition, there's some sort of symmetry there, isn't there, from the show and the news today. And they used it as the launch title, as I said, for the original Xbox. And Halo was a critical and commercial success. It's often praised as one of the greatest video games of all time. You know, discuss, you can argue, but it sold the console in the shed load. It sold, you know, everything. It became so much so that you now have labels such as, oh, this is the Halo clone or a Halo killer. So it's one of those games, you know, like Fortnite now, where people go, oh, this is the new Fortnite. This is the Fortnite killer. You know, whenever there's a new game, it gets labeled as the whatever the popular game of the time is, killer or whatever. And Halo was that. This is the, you know, it became part of the common lexicon, as it were. And those sort of Halo clone or Halo killer were applied to games that were similar or anticipated to be better. What was that PlayStation game we talked about? It was sort of at the end of PlayStation 2. It's really good. It was their like attempt at Halo in a way. Can't remember. We've talked about it before. It was really good, but it's sort of a bit after its time. Can't remember what it's called. Come to me anyway. But a similar sort of thing. It was a really good.
It's Cortana.
Yeah, of course, Cortana is what Microsoft ended up calling their assistant. Does she have the same voice?
I think initially she did. Yeah, I don't think she does today. I think it was very similar initially.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a franchise. Obviously, incorporates books, games, toys, films, sort of little Halo short films and stuff, and the game inspired and was used in the fan-created Red vs. Blue video series, which is credited as one of the first major successes of machinima.
Oh, right.
The technique of using real-time 3D engines, often from video games, to create animated films. You see them on YouTube. People make like mini little films and stuff like that. More than 5 million copies had been sold worldwide by November 2005. And then this is the high-definition remake, Halo Combat Evolved. So it's a bit like Star Wars. Star Wars originally just called Star Wars. And then when they started doing sequels, and they went back, they called it Star Wars A New Hope. This was just called Halo. And then it became Halo Evolved. So this is the high-definition remake that I was playing here. And I was saying it's a really good make. And that was the one that was on the Xbox, the 10th anniversary of the game's original launch. And then it's been re-released as part of the Master Chief Collection. So actually you can play through there is one of the series which is a prequel. So again, I was wondering, do I play through in the story order, the canonical story order, or do I play through in the order that they were released? It's like that old argument about how do you watch all the Star Wars movies? And there is a sort of considered thesis on the best way to watch the first sort of 6, so the original trilogy and then the not so well received second trilogy, but there's a way to watch it to get the proper value of the story. Because if you watch Star Wars in this linear storyline, then the big suspense pieces are all spoiled. Luke, I am your father. That's meant to be like a what?
He just gave it all away.
Who doesn't know?
I didn't know that. I mean, Xbox and Halo, they're two synonymous words, aren't they? They go, they are the left and the right of the two hands.
That's why there's so much placed on Halo, delivering, for the next gen. That's why they've got to get it right, because people have a real nostalgic view of what it did for the original Xbox, and it's never going to live up to that reputation. It literally has to blow everything out of the water. But at the same time, people have evolved a bit from the simplicity of this style of shooter, although it is great fun to play. So do they keep that spirit of the which I think they're trying to do, which I think is good, but people are going, I want a bit more now. You've got Bungie obviously went on to make Destiny, and you can see there's so much. The drop ships come in, and then in Halo Combat Evolved, and then drop all the little aliens, just like Destiny. The soundtrack I'd forgotten when I started playing it last week, builds up, and it's just such a big orchestral sounding soundtrack. Everything's super cool about it. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is, I present to the jury, is my game in the Generation game. So, ladies and gentlemen, is it R for Rock for Pokemon Go? Or C for Halo Combat Evolved, Halo for Clive? So vote now, ladies and gentlemen. Take your votes. Take your votes now. Vote away, and we shall see which of us is win this week's Generation X game.
They are doing it. Oh, Chilla. Not only did I get cut off from my prime 2 weeks, 2 weeks on a run,
I feel bad.
I'm now gonna suffer abject defeat.
If Nikki finds out, I'm in trouble.
I was meeting her for some.
She's gonna curse me out big time. She's got a right potty mouth on her.
Yeah, I was meeting her for a pot noodle. Funny enough.
Oh, she's gonna write a song. She's gonna write a song about me, one of those poems.
Yeah, she is. She's gonna wrap you right around the head, mate.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Right,
4?
Nikki.
Come on, there's twice that in watching this. Come on, get your R's in now. If you get 4 R's in,
Halo,
we could call it a
vote
justified
C. Pokemon, vote R.
We could get a draw, which I think
Player 2
is justified, given the amount of pain I've been through.
Dave's gone Pokemon. David's gone Pokemon. Dave's gone Halo, but David's gone Player 2. That's an R then. I'll count it as an R. Oh, Jakey coming in the crow. Oh, right. His card is marked
Good
in PUBG
man.
in the weekend, I'm telling you.
I think you've got to go to unmark his card, mate, in PUBG.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, it's a definite win for Clive this week. No question.
Halo
I
wins,
declare,
ladies and gentlemen.
I declare a Laurel and Hardy handshake.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'll take my balls and
take your
throw them
balls with you.
elsewhere.
I'm taking my Pokemon balls with me.
I'll throw them. I shall throw them elsewhere.
Well, there we go, show.
Very good.
Thank you, everybody.
Very good.
Can't stand Halo, but you love PUBG. Interesting, Jakey. There we go. Well, thank you for sticking for us tonight, everybody, and coming back after us being pulled, or I could say pulled off, but we've had enough about smacking monkeys and getting pulled off and stuff like that. So
Never have enough.
We won't go down that road. But thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. Thank everybody coming in the chat. We're sorry. Bloody Nintendo.
Yeah.
Nintendo were one of the last people to sort of buy into game streaming as a concept.
Oh, were they?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
So
Okay.
when everyone else were like, because effectively you are exploiting someone else's copyright. But, the Xboxes and the PC game and PlayStation, all that, they sort of saw the value. of millions and millions of people watching somebody play your IP, not exploit it in terms of like commercially rip you off on it,
Yeah.
but be a front window and a 3-hour long advert for your game. Thought actually that's fine.
Wow.
But Nintendo were like, no, we've got to protect our IP, which I understand. When I worked at Lego and part of the legal department there, they're absolutely everything's about protecting the IP and everything. Of course it is. It's your bread and butter. But Nintendo were a bit slow to catch on with the kind of the value of people of game streaming and stuff like that. They
Right,
were,
okay.
yeah. So I
So
think
they
there's
probably
still
marked
obviously,
all their stuff as
yeah,
full copyright.
yeah. Oh, unless there
Yes.
was a track that was playing in the background.
Well, Dad's thought maybe it was because it featured kids, but I think it's just as likely to be Nintendo.
No, it's a copyright. It came up. It said copyright.
Yeah.
It never said that last week, or maybe I didn't notice it.
I didn't see it before. I didn't see it this time.
Yeah.
I
Why did we
didn't see
get
it
the
this
idea it
time.
was porn, or we just assumed that?
That's our minds, mate.
Yeah, mine. See, I told you there was nothing wrong. I wrote a long letter to YouTube saying I think we may have been pulled for porn. And as it turns out, it was just a copyright strike. Bloody Nintendo advert, advert as well.
So all these years, I've been going down the pub and asking for a pulled pork sandwich.
Yeah,
I should have been asking for a pulled porn sandwich.
yeah, pulled porn sandwich.
Hmm.
Yeah, very interesting sandwich, isn't it?
Dave with a
Ladies and
raven.
gentlemen, on that bombshell, thank you once again for being here on Generation X and putting up with us today, getting ripped off air. They got it in for us, haven't they, YouTube? They got it in for us.
Infamous.
We will keep infamy. They've all got it in for me. We'll keep going. We'll keep striving, and we'll see you all around next week. So it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.
Goodbye.